What's up, YouTube? This is James coming back at you with another informative video. How y'all doing out there on this Sunday evening? I hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good myself. Well, the story says fatal police shootings could become a crime under proposed California law. Which, I guess what it's talking about is actually, when police just shoot any unarmed person who doesn't, propose themselves as a threat. Which goes without saying. It shouldn't even be in a discussion, about police just gunning down, someone just because they claim they fear for their life by a person that don't even have a gun, that's not even putting their life in any kind of jeopardy at all. Okay? And then come to find out, if they were to be brung up on charges, after a little bunk investigation, that they're found, not guilty in the court of so-called law. This is a video right here, basically about the Department of Justice, findings of rather the police should have been brung up on charges for murdering Stephon Clark. And of course, they didn't find any wrongful doing, so therefore, they didn't bring, those cops that shot and murdered Stephon Clark up on charges. See? So, I'm not going to play that video because, I already watched it, and that's basically what it's all talking about, which is a disappointment in itself, okay? Okay, a shutdown over when police can use deadly force is set to unfold in the California legislature next week, which could result in sweeping changes to law enforcement departments that gives officers broad latitude in deciding when to shoot to kill. If this does become, written into a bill, which it should be, it needs to spread across the entire land of America. Okay? At issue is Assembly Bill 392, known as the California Act to Save Lives, which would put the onus on officers to justify discharging their weapon, shifting the standard from reasonable, as defined by the Supreme Court's Graham v. Connor ruling in 1989, to necessary. That means that under the proposed bill, police must feel confident it is necessary to shoot to protect themselves or others from danger, or they could be prosecuted for killing a person. Instead of reaching for their gun, officers would be pressed to engage in de-escalation tactics that aim to reduce tension between officers and suspects. Experts said these include listening to the suspect's story, explaining the actions an officer is about to take, and ensuring that the suspect's dignity is preserved throughout the interaction. All this stuff that they should name, the officers should be automatically doing that. Okay. California has the highest percentage of police shootings per 100,000 people among states with more than 8 million residents, said Seth Stockton, a former police officer who is a law professor at the University of South Carolina and an expert on deadly force rules. The states are all over the map in the way they regulate deadly force, with some being very permissive. And that's where California is right now, says Stockton, noting that the western state shares the reputation with Georgia, Texas, and Florida. Among large states, New York has the fewest officers-related shooting deaths. That's hard to believe. I thought they was one of the forerunners of doing that. This new bill would make the preservation of life law enforcement, people, top priority in California, said Stoughton, who wrote letters to California lawmakers in support of the bill. Having the state legislature tell police officers, this is the job we expect you to do, is an important piece of symbolism. AB 392's co-sponsor, Assembly member Shirley Weber, D. San Diego, said the law would encourage police to consider non-lethal methods when bringing suspects into custody. The piling on of killings of often unarmed civilians by police for the past 6 or 7 years now is wearing on the conscience of this nation, she said. The thought after these shootings often is, isn't there something else police could have done? And maybe sometime there are other things. Of course it is. I've seen them, man. We know, we done seen all that kind of stuff where they didn't have to really shoot, but they did it. Case in point, this past situation that happened in Dallas, Texas, when that reprobate, shot the lady, claimed she grabbed his taser and shot him in the nuts with it. And shout out to Hobby Money for sending me a video about what tasers actually do to people, okay? There's no way he could have sustained a shot to the nuts by a taser, then pulled his gun and fired at her 5 or 6 times, striking her once. He would have been incapacitated. There's just no way. He's a liar. Critics said AB 392 ignores the nuanced difficulties inherent in police work and will have a calamitous effect on everything from policing practices to recruiting. This bill is an effort against anyone who wears a badge, and if people understood its consequence, nobody would vote for it, said Assemblyman Tom Lackey. What's that representative, Republican, I don't know, Palmdale, who served on California Highway Patrol for 28 years. Unless you've been in this area, you don't understand how fast things unfold. Well, I know one thing. If what this lady right here says, if they don't do something about it, the reasoning is going to go out of the window, and eventually you're going to hear about more officers getting killed on the line of duty. Because, people are just not going to stand by and just let you just keep taking their lives just because you feel like you want to, and then turn around and lie about it. Lackey said officers take their power to kill extremely seriously, recounting a CHP colleague who became so distraught after one fatal shooting that he became an alcoholic and killed himself. Yeah, guilt caught up with him. Okay? So the bastard had a conscience after all. Lackey said there is a problem exists with policing protocols, which have resulted in the high-profile shooting deaths of civilians such as Stephon Clark, a Sacramento man who was killed by police officers in March 2018 while carrying only a cell phone. But this bill isn't the solution to that problem, he said, warning that new policy could lead to tragic results for officers. But what my point is, it's going to lead to tragic results for your asses anyway. But if you keep carrying on just taking people's lives. But I digress. You change the policy midstream, and you'll cause officers to think before reacting. And that time gap is going to be deadly. How is it going to be deadly when the people they shoot ain't even got a gun? How is that going to be deadly? Whoever this lackey bastard is, he's full of shit. AB 392 pits victims, relatives, and the American Civil Liberties Union against a massive statewide force. State and local officers serving 40 million people across 600 agencies with 120,000 personnel that until recently was protected by one of the toughest police privacy laws in the country. On January 1st, Senate Bill 1421 became law, allowing the public to seek access to police records and internal investigations files to get more information about incidents in which police either use lethal force or are suspected of criminal activity. Therefore, Teresa, excuse me, people, Teresa Smith is among many victims' rights advocates who has spent time in Sacramento sharing her story in support of both SB 1421 and AB 392. Her son, Cesar Ray Cruz, was killed in 2009 in Southern California after a tipster told police he was a gang member and armed. After being confronted by police in a Walmart parking lot, Cruz was fatally shot. Officers said they thought Cruz was reaching into his waistband, but he was not armed. See, that's what I'm talking about. They thought, but a man's life has been taken based on they thought, The deadly force bill is important simply because if it had been in effect when my son was shot, there might be some accountability for their actions, said Smith, who started a non-profit group called Lean to help relatives of those killed by police deal with grief and seek answers. I guess this is her right here. Yeah, it's bad. This bill is about saving lives, she said. That includes police lives and it includes the lives of bystanders. My son was shot in a Walmart parking lot at Christmas. Smith said she understands that police work is difficult and dangerous. And if you're in imminent danger for your life, you have to make that decision. But if someone's running from you or has their back to you or is having a mental breakdown, that's something else. Well, again, how can a person that's running away from you, you understand what I mean, determine that you should use lethal force and they don't even have a weapon in their hand, okay? So they're not a threat to you or the public. They're just trying to escape. If your ass ain't in shape enough to go chase them down or radio ahead for backup to help you, retrieve the person, then, like I'm saying, why do you have to shoot them in the back? We've seen a lot of cases like that too. There was the case where a young fella, ran up on a building or something like that, the roof of a building, and the police caught him up there. And he didn't have a gun or anything. And they told him to get down. And get down, on the ground and everything. As he was getting down, he was compliant. And one of those fucking officers, shot him 3 to 5 times in the stomach. Now, what did he have to do that for? His life wasn't threatened neither was in any kind of way. Neither was his fellow officers. The young man was compliant. You see that? I tell you, it's a shame. Advocates for stricter parameters on police use of force said evidence abounds of instances in which violent armed shooters were taken into custody without incident. Oh, yeah, by the way, how is it that a lot of these damn mass shooters get taken in, and these people have proven that they murdering folks right there wherever it is, schools, churches, whatever. And then they go up there, they don't kill these people. They seem like they only murder the ones that's complying or running away. See, what's that all about? See, there's a lot of things that can be said, to debunk what this lackey guy is talking about. See, some agree there often is a racial component at play. You think? Time and time again, officers manage to safely arrest people who are armed and dangerous, though often those people are white, said Lizzie Beecham, legislative advocate for the ACLU of California. Case in point. See, that's what I'm saying. We know police have the tools and skills to apprehend people without harming them, she said. But there are just dramatic discrepancies of outcomes when you're dealing with people of color. Beecham said the bill is not aimed at neutering police, but rather suggests a best practice solution that should result in a lower use of force, fewer deadly incidents, and a rebounding of trust between police officers and the community they serve. Senate Bill 230 was put forth by law enforcement as an option to AB 392 and focuses largely on increasing training, but it doesn't address changing the standard for use of force. See, they always coming up with little counter laws. Even if this law do get passed, they're going to come up with a little counter law. See, just making it harder for themselves, down the road. They don't understand that, though. Lawmakers and advocates were tentatively optimistic that conversations between two sides of the issue would result in a bill that police officers and victims' rights groups can support. We're looking to pass what would be the strongest use of force bill in the nation, one that defines it as being usable only when necessary, not when reasonable, said bill sponsor Weber. We're in conversations with law enforcement, and we hope that will net some positive results. Robert Harris, president of Protect California, a coalition of law enforcement associations and trade unions, said changing the terms on the use of force is a line in the sand we don't want to cross. Well, if you don't cross it now, you're gonna have to address it eventually. Because I'm telling you, people are tired of this kind of shit. Folks are tired of the shit that a lot of these criminals with badges do to civilians that didn't deserve it. You see, and that's just all there is to it. The problem with requiring officers to, in the moment, determine if force is necessary is that it creates a standard officers will never reach and allow for 20/20 hindsight, he said. But this is what should be required of them, just being a police officer. They should be required to be able to make, the necessary determinations of when to use deadly force and what not to. Another thing that needs to be required of their ass, it needs to be a weight limit. You know what I'm saying? It is so many fat ass officers on the force, and lazy, it's not funny. They should be made to, go through physical fitness tests and all that kind of stuff. That's another thing they need to do. See? But I digress. I don't think 392 will reduce incidents. And I fear that officers, out of fear of being second guessed, won't be as proactive as they can be about their policing. For Smith, who lost her son to a deadly encounter with police, setting a new standard for when police should discharge their firearms, is critical to rebuild a rapport with law enforcement that is rapidly eroding. Well, it is rapidly eroding thanks to all the crime that those police, those criminals with badges has done. It's their fault. They can never justify just murdering somebody that's, like I said, they didn't have to shoot. See? Not only shoot, look what they did to Eric Garner. The man said he couldn't breathe, and the bastard used an illegal chokehold that they ain't even supposed to be even using. What about that? These people, like I'm saying, the ones that do it are criminals with badges, and they're committing crimes in the name of law enforcement. They are. See? Right now, if you're an officer, you can kill someone and have there be no consequences, she said. A badge shouldn't be equal to a license to kill. We just want law enforcement, with all their training, to be held accountable, because no one should be above the law. And that's facts. That's facts right there. You know, I guess this is the lady right here too. But that's the truth. No one should be above the law. But you got a lot of these criminalistic ass badge wearing cops, you know, with the criminal mind pretending to protect and serve, when they just coming out here just to kill and destroy, you know, that think they have a license to kill. And again, I'm going to pose a question to the so-called good cops. Why aren't y'all doing anything about these criminals, you know, with badges that you rub shoulders with? Why? Because they brothers in blue? If you feel that way, then you're just a criminal mind as you. That makes you an accomplice. You know the law. Y'all tell me what y'all think about this story. You know, I'm interested in hearing y'all thoughts on this, and want to see your comments. And like, comment, share, and subscribe, and make sure y'all hit that notification bell twice. That way you can get all notifications as the content drop. This is James, and I'm out. Peace.